All right, good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, the 26th. That is day number 73 of our class. I'd like to finish with the chapter 16 running chapter example and then go over the last hands-on tests in some detail. I will tell you again, you have the rest of the week after today, so I won't go any more than an hour today probably. And you have the rest of the period today, all period tomorrow, and all period on Friday to work on this. I will be online all day, all the time. You can ask me anything you want. There may be something I may not be able to tell you because it's like I'll point you to a place in the book or whatever. But if you get stuck, please get a hold of me. This test is due by midnight Monday. All right. Now, on Monday of next week, we're going to go through some JavaScript React examples. This is actually what I've been doing with the first year people, and I'm going to replicate a lot of the stuff that I've done with them. Then on Tuesday of next week, we're going to go through chapter 17 and attempt to deploy one of these. Wednesday and Thursday will be for you to turn in. I know some of you are behind, so it'll give you a chance to turn in any remaining work. The only thing for chapter 16 you have to turn in is the written test. All right. And that's due Sunday by midnight. Your final again is due Monday by midnight, and your completed electronic portfolio and any additional late work must be turned in by midnight on Thursday in order for you to get credit on it. Okay, I'm sorry we started a little late today, but let's just get into it. So the next thing in here is work on roles. Let me mention to you that when I was working on this the other day, and I had problems, plenty of problems. But when I had problems, what I had to end up doing, and you may have to do this as well, I had to go back in here, and it didn't like it when I was trying to do an add migration and an update database. So what I had to do was I had to go in and literally remove my bookstore database. There's different ways you can do it, but I just went over to here and I chose delete. And it said there's another option there. I chose everything and it was gone. Then I did an update, an add migration followed by an update. After that, everything was working. All right. It took a while to figure that out. And I even bugged Evan. He said, hey, did you think of doing that? I thought, yeah, but I really, probably didn't. So now the other thing too is to check some of this stuff, to work with roles in here until you've got more stuff set up. What you really should do is to go into your admin controllers and comment out all the authorized roles equal admin that are in there right now. That will allow you to go in as a quote, regular user, unquote, and go in and do whatever you want to do. So for instance, if I want to go in here now, I'm probably a little further ahead than you are, having done what I mentioned. All right. Right now, I'm logged in as an administrator. So I see the admin here. When I log out, I'm going to log back in again. In fact, let me just register. Come on. So I'm going to register as a new user. Okay. And it's going to be hello world. All right. First name, hello, last name, world, email, hello world at gmail.com. The password will be hello world with a capital H and a capital W run together. HELLOWORLD. HELLOWORLD. Now, as long as I got my capitalizations correct, that should work. Okay, so we don't have to do this, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm in there now as hello world. Okay, but hello world is not put in as an administrator by default. But even though I'm in there as a quote regular user, I can go over now because I just removed all of the authorized, equal admin. So now I can come in and I can do an admin. And there I am. I'm now an administrator. I'm going to cut that out in a bit. All right. But since I did this and removed it, basically everyone's an admin. So I could add a book. All All right. I could come in and add an author. I could come in and add a genre. And probably more important than any of those is I can now manage users. All right. So this is what I've got in here right now. Now, hello world is what I just had. I sure wouldn't want to delete me as I'm already in here. But notice I've got this J Smith. J Smith does not have a role. I click here. Now J Smith is an administrator. If I click there again, now J Smith has been removed as an administrator. If I click delete, now J Smith has been removed totally from here. All right. And there are roles that we can come in. The only role we have hard coded in here right now really is the admin role. And if I wanted to, I could delete that, but I don't want to. So right now, admin, and I think I put it in as admin123. That's the only user that is in there right now, technically as an admin, as you can see. All right, so I'm going to log out. And before I log back in again, I'm going to go back to my code here. In fact, I should stop, I guess. I'm going to stop here. And every place I commented these out. All right, so these are all the things in the controller. All the controllers for in the admin area. So all 5 of these, I'm now going to take and remove. Now I've removed the comments. So you have to be an administrator to get in. Okay, so I'm going to save all and I'm going to run this. And I'm going to come in and do exactly what I just did a couple minutes ago. And what I mean by that is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to log in. And I'm going to log in, no, not as the admin, but I'm going to log in as hello world and HELLOWORLD. Remember now, and I'm going to click a remember me too. So I just come back with that one. And when I log in, I am logged in. All right, there's hello world. However, if I try going over again, like I just did to the admin area, now I get access denied. And it just is stuck right there. We could push you off to another page, have you go back to the home page or whatever, but there's nothing you can do. All right. Notice it actually went to an access denied page. So if I go back in again and I try using a different one, well, I know that under admin, there's a user. I still get the access denied. All right. So I cannot do anything any longer unless I have been given admin permissions. So let's log out and let's log back in again. And we're logging back in as admin. So I'm now an admin. All right. You can see I get the link here. All right. So I can do all this stuff, but I'm going to manage users here. And I'm going to take hello world and I'm going to add them to the admin area. All right. And then I'm going to log out. Now I'm going to log in again, but I'm going to log in again as hello world. Hopefully now given my admin status, hello HELLOWORLD. All right, log in. Invalid username password. I must have typed in the password incorrectly. I know I did. So it's HELLOWORLD. Okay, so now I'm in, and notice that now, unlike what I did before, I have the admin permissions. All right, why? Because Hello World is an administrator. I'm going to remove them from the admin permissions. All right, and I'm going to try to refresh the page. And it is still letting me in here. All right, however, I'm going to go back to my home page just to see what will happen. So there's the home page. And it's still showing admin because it must have cached me as being an admin user. But if I log out and I log back in again as hello world, what you'll notice is that admin that was here before is no longer there. All right. So I don't have access to any of the admin area. All right. Okay. That's a lot of what's in here, but I do want to go over it with you. All right. So when you are doing and working with these roles in the database, in fact, virtually when you're doing anything working with the database, you're going to find that the majority, if not everything you do, is going to be an async. So if we look at what's in here, all right, we've got roles. As it says, it returns an iQueryable object of roles. We've got find by ID, which, as it says, is going to find a role based on the role ID, find by name based on the role. Then there's create async, update async, and delete async. So the CU and D of our CRUD. And as you can see, it creates a role and returns an identity result object, or it updates an existing role and returns an entity or an identity result object, or it deletes one. And I just showed you all three of those. Now, I did not show you this, but if I do come in here, sorry, if I do come in here right now, all right, if I do come in here and where am I? There we go. And I go into my bookstore and I go into my tables and I look in here, all right, and I go in there under roles, and let's go under roles here, and let's look at viewing the data. And you'll notice I have an admin role. That was the one that I went in and created. So there is a role in there called admin. That's really the only thing that we've been working with or in or whatever you want to call it. All right. So that's under roles. If I go in and I look under my users, all right, you'll notice what's in here. And what do I mean? Well, when we take a look in here, notice admin, all right, and the email is just one I made up, all right. You can see how the passwords have been hashed. We don't have a phone number, etc. I didn't put in any of that stuff, all right. And when we keep taking a look over here, so, admin is the only one that has the admin role. All right. I just called the username admin. We could have called it anything we wanted. All right. But what I want to show you is if you look in here, if we look in here under this, all right, and we go through everything that's in here, you notice there's the hello world that I just added. So let's keep going. So some of the properties and methods here, you have to come in basically and work with this user manager class. The user manager class is something you use. It's not something that you create. You use the methods of the user manager class. All right. And again, you can see the different things that are in here. Now, if we look at the code here on the bottom of 679, you'll notice, as it says, code that loops through all users and their roles. All right. So we've got a for each within a for each. So if this is admin, these are the roles for, etc. Then if we got another user, then it's their roles, etc. All right. And I think this was mentioned before, and I know Evan mentioned it too in his lectures. And that is that typically anytime you get added to something, you won't be added in as an individual user just. You'll be added into a role someplace, even if you're the only one in that particular role. Because the chances are there'll be somebody else that'll be added there later, and it's much easier to put them in a role and administer groups of people than it is individual people. All right. So when you look in here at some of the stuff, and this is in the code too, just so you know. All right. Hello, Clayton. I started without anybody here, but I'm just going through. I started on 678. And just to give you a quick little recap of what I went through in here, I said that this is what I did originally to kind of show you everything that's going on in here. And that is, let me close this stuff. All right. So when I ran this, when I run this right now, I have a user that I created called admin. There is an user right now. All right, I'm still logged in as a fictional user I just made up, but I've got this. So we've got this right here, exactly what you see. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to register. And I'm going to say, rather than hello world, I'm going to say goodbye world. So I'm just making this guy up. So goodbye will be the first name. World will be the last name. The email will be goodbye world at gmail.com. The password will be goodbye world with a capital G and a capital W. All right. And I'm going to register. All right. Now, what I have done in here is I have commented out, if we go out into here, if you look, I guess I can't even show it right now, but if you look in the code, in fact, I can, let me show it to you like this. This is the code. If I go into my admin area and I go into my controllers and I bring them up, what I have done in here is right now for temporarily, okay, and I've got this. If I comment these out right now, and this is the way it should be. If I'm in an admin area, anything that's an admin should have authorized at the beginning, like you see right here. All right. If I commented this stuff out, then essentially anybody would be an admin. All right. And if you don't know what I mean, I think you probably do. But if I go in here and I look right now at what I have, all right. So if I come through here, just like this, okay, and let's say I try to get into the admin area, because there's an area here that's called admin. All right. So if I hit enter, notice I get access denied, which is really what you think when you think about it, is what should happen. All right. That's exactly what should happen. So I'm going to log back out and I'm going to log in again, but I'm going to log in as admin. This is the one I made that's just admin with an admin 123 in here. So now watch how this changes up here. I'm logged in. Now notice I get the admin icon here. So if I click here, I can now manage books, authors, genres, or users. The users is the key one, because I want to come in here and there's my goodbye world that I just added, and I'm going to add them to the admin area right there. I just made them an administrator. All right. So I've done that, and now I'm going to log out. And then I'm going to log in again, but I'm going to log in as goodbye world. And you'll notice that now that I've done that, I'm an administrator. So I can go in and I can do all this. I can, add, remove, update any book, any author, any genre, but I can also come in here and do that to users. Now I can even remove myself as an administrator. That is a really, when you think about it, it's kind of a silly thing to do. All right. But it will keep me in here. I think it cached the fact that I'm in here. So it still has all this stuff here. However, when I go back in and I log out and I log back in again, and I log in as Goodbye World, now what you'll notice is when I do that, I don't have admin permissions anymore because I'm not an administrator. So long story short, or short story long, depending on your point of view, when you are testing this stuff, if you want to test it and actually see if anybody can go and come in and be an admin, then you could come in and you could take these and comment out the line here and in the other four controllers as well. All right, so that's kind of where I left off. And I'm talking about that in here. And we talked about the fact that, again, all these methods that you see in here, they're all asynchronous. And again, the main reason they're asynchronous is we're dealing with a database that could conceivably have millions of users, thousands or hundreds of thousands of roles, etc. All right. So this code that's right here, as it says, this is looping through in here. So this is looping through, and for each user, it's identifying their roles. All right. And as it says, you can loop through and you could do something special if they had a certain role or not something special. All right. Here we're coming in here and we're creating a role that's called admin. So basically, behind the scenes, this is what happened when I went in and basically created myself as an administrator. You can delete any role. All right. Right. Again, as of right now, the only role that's in here is the role of admin, but we could potentially add more roles. As it says, the code that adds a user to the role admin. So when I was clicking those buttons, this was basically what was happening. When we added someone in as an admin and as when we remove them as an admin. All right. Now, to do that, you've got to come in and make some changes. So the idea is this is the page that we want. All right. So when you take a look in here, okay, this is the admin right here. This is the admin layout page. How do I know that? Well, first of all, I know it from up here, from admin, but I don't have these links that are in here. I don't have these links for managing users. I'm sorry, managing books, managing authors, managing genres, and managing users. I don't have those links, all right, unless the person is an admin, an administrator. You can see that too. All right. And you'll notice in here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns here and 1, 2 columns here. The reason I'm bringing that up is in just a second, we'll go and take a look at the associated view for this. So to do this, what do we have to do? Well, notice you've got to go into your user entity, which is under your domain models. All right, not for admin, but the regular domain models. And you've got to put a new field in there called role names. We've already done this. All right. And it's a list of strings because you can have a list of different roles. All right. It's not mapped because we're not adding it to the database itself. Once we go in and we update our user entity, then we have to go in and create a new user view model under our user models. I'm sorry, under our view models. All right. And it's going to basically be able to hold for us each user and their roles. All right. All right. Then you go back into the user controller, and there's a lot of changes that you have to make. Hopefully, there we go. All right. So again, we can tell that we are in the user controller where? In the admin area, because we've got authorized role equal admin. All right. So we've got to come in here and basically set this thing up, which is what we're doing in here right now. All right. So basically, we are providing the ability for somebody to work with the user manager class and the role manager class in here. All right. Then in our index method is basically just going to be set up to show those things until we add some more action methods, which we'll do shortly. But this next thing that's in here on 685, the user index view, all right, we're talking about being able to come in here and do this, set this thing up. All right. And there's a bit of code in here and it goes on to the next page as well. But again, you can tell you're in the user area. So you have to go into views and you have to make a new folder called user. And then you have to come in there and add this code. We've already got that. All right. So for the view itself, that's shown right here. And there's several different things that you can conceivably want to do in here. All right. So this add a user, all right, etc. Okay, so we got add a user here. All right. There's the add a user. And then we've got these 3 buttons that we have to account for in here. So notice it's in a try catch. All right. Anything can go wrong at any time. But again, we want to be able to come in there and do what? Delete a user, add a user to the admin area, all right, or remove a user from the admin area. Those 3 buttons are these 3 buttons right here. All right, so that's the area. You've got all this code already. All right. And as it said, after this, it uses a razor if statement to see if any role objects exist. If not, it displays a form that contains a button so you could create an administrator role. All right, and that's what's in here. So there's really 2 different ways that you can do at least some of this stuff. All right, you can actually come in and register as something and have the code in there for it, or you can do what's shown a little bit later on in the chapter here, and that is you can actually seed stuff in here to make it work. All right, other action methods. So this is the other stuff that's in that controller method. Come on. There we go. Like what? All right, we want to be able to come in here, and this is the code that goes with those buttons. Now, this delete, all right, if we put this in here, this is for a user. This would allow you to delete a user as an administrator. All right, then what else do we have? This is the code for adding somebody or adding an administrator. So this is the code we just looked at for the button to add somebody to the admin area. This is to delete somebody from the admin area. And this is to delete a role. And what is that? Roles were on the very bottom. All right, they were on the very bottom, the roles that were there. So we did create an admin role. Again, maybe you saw this, maybe you didn't, but just because I'm trying to be somewhat complete here, that if I come out here and I go in again and let me log out and log in as admin, all right, that when I go over to here and I go to manage users, I just showed you the code for these 3 buttons and also the code for this, for being able to delete a role. Now, we could add to this particular example, you're not asked to do this, but if this was yours and you were doing this for a living, you'd probably want something else in there under manage roles where you could, rather than just delete a role, you'd be able to add a new role. All right. And there might be other things for managing roles that you'd want to be able to do. Rename a role, all right, change permissions on a role, etc. So there's a lot more stuff conceivably in there that you could do. I should mention to you too that if I go back into my database again and I go under my users, all right, and I bring that up and I view the data, what you'll notice who's in there, there's the goodbye world that I just added. All right. So the stuff, it is being updated virtually in real time. All right. Now, code that restricts access, this is what we were talking about. Typically, what you'll do is you'll take anything, all right, that is involved in the admin area, and you will make that authorize, where the role is the admin, like this. All right. But notice for the cart, if somebody were to log in here, I'm not going to go back into it again, but if I would log back or go back in fact, let's do it just so you can see it. So let's run this. I'm not going to log in at all. So if I am logged in, I'm going to log out. All right. So I'm in as an administrator. So I'm logging out. No, I'm not in as anybody. But if I come through here and I go to /cart, notice it asks me to log back in again. All right, because that code is already in there, so that for the cart area, you have to be logged in. Now, on the other hand, if I come back in here again and go in as my goodbye world, all right, now if I do that, notice I can go to the cart area. I don't have anything in there, but I can go there. And that's because I am logged in. All right. That was that access denied, and I did show you that. So if you're not allowed. Now, all it's doing right now is it's saying access denied. All right. You could do something, and it's not that hard in this language to set up a timer. You could have that stay for 3 seconds, and then you could basically have them go back to the home page or whatever, or a login page, or wherever you wanted them to go. All right. The next thing that's in here then on 692, I've got my book with me too, and I've fallen a little bit behind, is how you can go in there and how you can seed. All right. Now, what we're doing when we're creating users and roles is we're adding things to a database. And the only reason I'm telling you that is you know how to seed database data because we've already done it. All right. So as it says here on page 693, it says it'll present some skills that you can use to seed your database with some initial roles and some initial users. All right. In particular, it says it shows you how to create a user named admin that you can use. So I did it earlier, but I wanted you to, we already have an admin. You could make an admin too if you wanted to do that. Or you could drop the admin role and then recreate it using this. All right. As it says here, to start, you create a static async method like the create admin user async shown in the first example. All right. Well, it's pretty much what you think it would be. All right. There it is. Within the method, it says the first two statements use this parameter to get the user manager and the role manager objects. Why? Because an admin, that's their job. They're administrating over users and roles. All right. Then the code creates 3 string variables that store a username of admin, a password, in this case of Sesame, and a role name of admin. All right. There they are right here. Next, as it says, the code checks whether the specified role already exists. If you already have something called admin, you're not going to be able to create something called admin. If it doesn't exist, the code goes in and creates the role. All right. As it says here, to execute the create admin async, you can call it from program.cs. All right. So in other words, if we go out here right now, let me go back to our program. All right. And I'm going to close some of this stuff because I just have way too much junk open. I'll leave that open. Okay. Um, if I go to program.cs, all right. And if you look down here, I thought they had it. Maybe you didn't put it in. I don't know. But you can from in here, from inside the program.cs file. All right. Says you can call it in there and pass the iService provider that it needs. And I believe they show you how to do that. There it is. All right. So we don't have that in there. I believe that's not in there at least. Okay. Go back and look, but there it is. And that's how you would do it. So as it says, if you need to seed your database with some initial roles and users, you can create a method to do that and then call that method from your program.cs file. All right. All right. Then the last couple things that are in there, starting on page 694, they give you a couple, and they call it here a couple extra skills. All right. And the first one in here is the ability to go in and change a user's password. All right. They say at this point, you learn how to restrict access. All right. And in addition, it says you learn how to create a manage users page, but there's a few other skills. The first one, yeah, how to change a user's password. All right. This can be set up in different ways, and it depends on the kind of authentication that you have set up. What do I mean? I have worked at places where that if I go and I forget my password and I call up or email an administrator from my email address, they can come back and give me my password. That's not typically the way that it is, though. Typically, the way that things are authenticated is if I forget my password and I go in and I contact somebody who's an administrator, all right, then typically I can go in or they can go in and reset my password to something else, maybe just like password and have it auto expire. So as soon as I log in, or, you know, typically they cannot go in and retrieve your existing password. All right. So as it says right here, if you need to change a user's password, you can use a view like this change password view that's in here. Now, when you look at this, hopefully it makes sense. You'll notice in here that you're already logged in. So you give them your username and your old password. All right. Now, if you break the rules for a new password, meaning that you don't have a capital letter in there, if it's not at least 6 characters, etc., or if your new password and your confirmed password don't match, you will get errors. All right. Plus, I don't know how this is implemented in here, but I don't know, for example, if I came in here to change my password and I put Joel, and let's say my old password was Joel, and I tried to make my new password the same as my old one. In most places, you're not allowed to do that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, your password at most places, like at Rankin, I believe it's like every 90 days mine expires. I have noticed because I've tried doing it. I can maintain about 4 passwords and change them 4 times a year, back and forth and back and forth. It takes that. Not all places do. All right. I used to work at a place that it would remember. I think it was your last 7 passwords. Because if you tried to go in and change a password and it was something you'd already used, it would give you that message. It would say, you already used that as one of your last 7 passwords and you couldn't change it. All right. So if you want to be able to go in and do that, as it says right here, then you have to go in and you have to create exactly as what's shown right here. That is this change password view model. All right. So they give you that in here, and all that is that setting up this. So what do we have? The username, the old password, the new password, and the confirm password. We are setting these up so the system knows they're of type password as well. All right. Then as it says, the HTML for the username, well, that's read only. We're not allowing the user the ability to go in and change their username. Okay. That's why that one is down here is read only. Then in part 2 here on page 697, they're going through this. So remember what this is doing right here. This is showing you the form basically, and this is reacting to you changing the form. And I already mentioned that if you go in there and you change the password, but you don't meet the rules that you'd set up initially, all right, if you don't meet those rules, all right, you're going to get some kind of an error. Again, meaning you need a capital letter. It needs to be at least 6 characters. All right, those were the rules we set up quite a while ago. All right. But if you meet everything, as it says, it succeeded, so you'll get the temp message at the top of your screen that says password changed successfully, and you'll go back to the home page. Otherwise, if there's one or more errors, you'll get them right here. All right. And then find this thing in here for adding more registration fields. All right. And as they mention in here, excuse me, as they mention in here, what they have you do is they have you go in and add a first name and a last name. This was done in the example. All right. So after the username, you now have a first name and a last name that's in here and an email address. I mean, would you need to do that? No, and they don't even show the picture. All right. But if you update the register view model, now you'll have all that information. In fact, if we go back one last time here and run the program again, and you click register, you may or may not remember that initially when you registered, there was just a username, a password, and a confirm password. But in the pages right here, we added first name, last name, and email. All right, and they're right here. Also, you'll notice if I try to register and I click that, I get all those errors. What is that? That's the system looping through in that for each statement in there and finding a list of every error that I have. And we're just printing them off to the side. You could have put in a validation summary as well if that was desired. All right, you could have put in a validation summary as well and put something on the top or on the bottom. All right. Okay. Stop the run here. I think we're just about done with the chapter. Yep, that's it. All right. So the only other thing that I want to do is I want to go over the test in some detail. All right. It is 1:15. I want to take a mini break just for 5 minutes. I need something to drink. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. And I just got a thing that I got some kind of a message. I think it's from Evan. So I want to see what that is as well. All right. So I'll be back. Like I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes at 1:20. Hmm. All right, it's 1:20, so I'm going to spend about 10 minutes or so just going over the test. I will tell you, okay, if anyone has any questions once you're working on the test for the next few days, you can ask. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to answer it. If it's something that's in your book that I think you should already know, all right, I'll probably push you off to a page in the book. If it's something you're having a logic error or whatever and you can't figure it out, I'll do my best to help you. All right. So again, this is the last test. It is due no later than midnight Monday. If you get it done Friday, please push it out there and send me an invite. All right. Or Thursday or Saturday or whatever. Then I can try to grade stuff as quickly as possible. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come in just like we did, and you're going to want to add these identity tables. All right. So you're going to make a user.cs class, and that's going to have in there a first name, a last name, and an email. All right, that's 10 points. I would model that totally after I just closed it down, and I shouldn't have. But if I go out into here and I go out, I'm going to close my admin area here, but I go under models here and I go under my domain models, there's user. All right. Now you're eventually going to have to probably put a role name in there too. But to start with, you can set up your user class like this. All right. And just add the email field. Okay, so that is 10 points right there. Okay. All right. Then next, update the application to allow a new user to register for an account. We've gone over that in here. All right. You know that you're going to have to go in and create an account controller, and you're going to have to give when you do that, then the user will be able to register for an account. It says provide working links in the nav bar to register and to log in. I don't even, let's see, do I even have mine here? I gave everybody a thing today. This was mine, the last one that I had done. All right, this was sales order solution. You can work with this one, or if yours works, just work with yours. It doesn't matter. All right, but right now, I don't want to. Right now, if I run this, all right, this is what it looks like. I do have an admin area, but virtually everybody has access to it right now. I want that to change. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to come into here and you are going to have to add the register and the login and make them both functional. That's the next part of this exercise. All right. So provide working links. So update it to allow a new user to register and provide the working links to do so. After you register, as it says, the user should be logged into their account. Their username should show in the nav bar. So again, as we just mentioned, you saw that with the other one that I had up. All right, over here, it should have your username should show in there. And that's 5 points. If you're not a logged in user, as it says, you should be able to view the sales order data. But if you try to click on any item, you should be redirected to the login page. Right now, again, there is no authorization or authentication in this. So, whoops, what did I do? Fantastic. So right now, if I do go in here, I just knocked myself off, so I'm getting back on again. All right. Right now, anyone can go to products and can look at any product. What we're saying is, if you go to products and you're not logged in, all right, and you click a view details or a go to cart, both of those, rather than showing you this, it should bring you back to a login page if you're not, after you set up the login mechanism. All right. And that's really not very hard. You're going to have to do some decorating on there. So the stuff with your products, basically, you'll do an authorize. All right, pretty much that's it right there. So that's not a lot of work. Add a shortcut link to the register page that says already registered, click here to log in. Add a similar one to the login page that says need to register, click here. Again, that's exactly what we had in the example that we just went over. All right. Users should be able to click the remember me to have a login cookie persist. Remember, we've talked about this before, that the difference between having a session cookie and a persistent cookie is a session cookie goes away once you log out. A persistent cookie remains even after you've logged out. And that's 10 points. Then seed an admin role and an admin account through your program.cs file. We just looked at the code for doing that. The username should be admin. The password should be 123. All right, 5 points for each of those. Then, as it says, only allow admin role accounts access to the admin area controllers. What does that mean? Again, you're going to have to decorate that with an authorized role equal admin. All right. Also, only display the admin link in the nav bar to those who are logged in or have logged in as an admin or have an admin role. Again, something we just did. Finally, create that user manager page that allows you to go through these 4 operations. Create an admin role, delete a user, all right, add a user to the admin role, and remove a user from the admin role. So if you look at what's in here in the exercise that we went over, all right, you're just taking all that stuff and you're porting it over so that you're able to do it to the sales order application. And again, I gave you my copy. You can use that one. You can use your own. Either way. The only other thing I would mention in here is, where are we? Come on, where are you? Those are Evan's lectures. They're probably more complete than mine are. This is on authentication and authorization. The first half of the chapter, it's not short. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. This is role handling. That's an hour and 20 minutes long. This one you don't need because all he did was he went in and did a example from scratch, but we're working with one that we've already got things in there. And this was changing the password, and you're not even asked to do that on here. All right. So if you get stuck, feel free to contact me or feel free to watch any of those. All right. If you've got questions, like I said, I will do my best to try to answer them. Questions that I can't answer are, hey, how many points will you give me for this? All right. If you make an effort on anything that is on this test, a concerted effort, I will promise you, you will get some points. That's the best thing that I can tell you. All right. But if something doesn't work, you come in here and you're like, geez, I did the same kind of code they had in the book, and I can't get this thing to work on mine. Then let me know and I'll be happy to take a look at it. When you do that, what I'd appreciate you doing is literally, rather than putting everything in the repo we've been using all semester, just make a new repo that has just this test in it. Because otherwise it takes too long for me to dig through it. Plus your repos are really, really big. All right. So that's all I had, Clayton, unless you have any questions on anything. That's what I had for today. All right, then you've got the rest of the period. I'm going to stay logged in. I'll be logged in tomorrow. I'll be logged in Friday. Friday, I'm probably going to go into Rankin, and I'll probably be in there, but I'll be at Rankin itself. All right. Good luck, and I will talk to you on Monday when we'll talk some JavaScript and React.